he was running for president, out of everybody that ran in 2016, I'd definitely choose Rand Paul. I would have voted for Rand Paul in the general election. I voted for Rand Paul in the presidential primaries, the Republican primaries. But of course, his name was not on the ticket in the general election. It was either Trump, Hillary, or there were only a couple of the third-party candidates that got on the ballot. I think Jill Stein was on the ballot. Gary Johnson, the Libertarian, was
from bringing it forward in the full House or the full Senate, but said it would be a good committee hearing. And so I'm glad we are having a committee hearing on the subject. Not my bill, but the subject, and I'm supportive of the subject. I think, though, that I tend to agree with Senator Risch in the sense that, you know, you beat around the edges and say how much we love Palestinian Authority for all these other things we have to have for stability. We're going to cut some a little bit here, maybe. And people are worried, oh gosh, if we cut any of their money, they'll be mad. You know, people sense weakness, and, you know, cut it all. Cut every last penny of it. If you want to restart some of it, restart it when they change their behavior. That would be the strength that actually would show something. But nibbling around the edges, they sense your weakness, and they will continue to do it. They've been doing it forever. But I guess the thing that really galls me is from Ambassador Shapiro's testimony that the Knesset is considering withholding tax revenue commensurate with the prisoner's payments, although it's far from clear that it will reach final passage. If the Knesset can't even withhold the tax money, some amount of money equivalent to what the payments are, my goodness, what kind of message are we sending? So if we've got a message, if the Knesset's listening to us, for goodness sakes, you've got to do at least that first step if you object to people paying the families of people who are killing innocent citizens. So, you know, both sides need to act. We need to do more. And I do all of it, and then I dial some of it back, would be my personal opinion, if you get a change in behavior. But if you nickel and dime it and do a little bit at a time, my prediction is you'll get the same behavior you've gotten for years. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You just came back from Israel with a group of folks, and you made some headlines because you took the position that it's really Israel's business what it does with settlements and the like. You've also been involved in kind of controversy regarding foreign aid to Israel. What's your perspective on foreign aid to Israel? Would you be open to cutting foreign aid to Israel's enemies but retaining a certain amount of foreign aid to Israel itself?
My position has all along been on foreign aid, not specific to Israel and really not even related to the Israeli questions. And a lot have made it out to be some sort of animus towards Israel or some kind of problem. But really my problem is that we're borrowing $50,000 a second. We're borrowing $4 billion a day. We have to look everywhere. And then when I look at foreign aid, what I say is, well, we could cut, well, I think eventually almost everybody needs to be independent, including Israel. However, when I look at it and say, well, who would I cut first? Well, maybe the people who are burning our flag, maybe the people who are chanting death to America. And one of the comments I made in Israel was, I don't see anybody here, nor do I imagine an Israeli burning an American flag. There's a great deal of friendship. There's a great deal of appreciation by those in Israel for America's friendship and vice versa. And so none of my proposals to do with foreign aid have anything to do with really Israel-American relationships. And in fact, I agree with Netanyahu, who said in '96 he'd like to become independent of the aid so they can become more of a sovereign nation. I don't like the idea of Israel having to come on bended knee to say, oh, can we do this to defend ourselves against missiles in Gaza? They should make their decisions as any other sovereign nation would to protect themselves.
There's been a lot of talk about, you know, let's say you become President Paul at some point in the future.
I like the ring of that.
And, you know, let's say Israel comes under attack from its enemies. Does the United States stand with Israel in terms of giving military foreign aid?
Well, absolutely we stand with Israel, but I think what we should do is announce to the world, and I think it's pretty well known, that any attack on Israel will be treated as an attack on the United States.